Περνάμε τώρα στο επόμενο θέμα και στην συνέντευξη που μας παραχώρησε η παραγωγός του ντοκιμαντέρ «Η ζωή μετά τη ζωή, οι Ρωμιοί της πόλης» της κυρίας Γκόνουλ Μπόζουγλου. Το συγκλονιστικό αυτό ντοκιμαντέρ αναφέρεται στην ιστορία της κοινότητας των Ρωμιών της Κωνσταντινούπολης μέσα από προσωπικές αφηγήσεις των μελών της. Η παραγωγός, κυρία Γκόνουλ Μπozuglu, μίλησε στην κάμερα του Hellenic TV για την δημιουργία αυτού του ντοκιμαντέρ, αλλά και για την σημασία της διατήρησης της κοινότητας των Ρωμιών. Στο βίντεο που ακολουθεί θα σας παρουσιάσουμε ένα απόσπασμα από αυτή την άκρως ενδιαφέρουσα συνέντευξη.
Σήμερα έχουμε ένα πολύ ενδιαφέρον θέμα και έχουμε την παραγωγό ενός πολύ σημαντικού ντοκιμαντέρ, το οποίο είναι «Η ζωή μετά τη ζωή, life after life, οι Ρωμιοί της πόλης». Θα καλωσορίσουμε την Gonul Bozuglu. Is this correct, Gonul? Is this correct?
Yeah.
Welcome. And thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And I have to congratulate you. You know, it's amazing documentary. And thank you for doing this documentary. But we would like to know more about you. Can you tell us about yourself? Who are you? And you decided to make this film about the Greeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will certainly come to that. And I think it's probably a very important point that we should talk about. So who am I? It's a difficult question to answer, actually. Well, I'm from Turkey, and I grew up in Izmir, and for the university, I moved to Istanbul, where I studied art history and archaeology. So then I did my MA in Museum Studies in the UK, and then PhD, half in the UK and half in Germany, in Museum and Heritage Studies with anthropological approaches and methods, which is very common in Museum and Heritage Studies. And in my PhD, I explored state-level narratives in Turkish museums. And after thinking about all of these national-level stories, and how the state uses them, I wanted to explore the stories that don't make to museum or into other public spaces. So this is kind of also common in our heritage and museum studies. We always question, what is dominant, what is not. So there is this dimension and, backgrounds that I have. So I also become very interested in a concept of heritage as something that can be very personal, even private, community-based, and not shown in a big state museum. Instead, we can find these in maybe people's living room or community places, in their personal photography collections and so on. So these are my general concepts and approaches and who I am. But specifically, my case studies are almost always related to Constantinople, Istanbul.
Yes.
The memories and heritages of Istanbul are my big interests. And, we can come to that, of course.
So what inspired you actually to get involved, with the Greeks of Constantinople, that you wanted to find out more and actually do a very emotional documentary?
Mm-hmm. I mean, so I got, probably I can answer this in two ways. So what inspired me is probably, I can start with my, background. I'm, as I explained, so I'm a researcher in Museum and Heritage Studies, and I have these anthropological approaches in my research. And as I said, a lot of what I engage with in terms of heritage is not recognized in official heritage. And for me, it is always important to find other methods and platforms for recognizing and making visible these otherwise, hidden histories. Because if you don't do anything, they are at risk of disappearing. So because, I'm in academia, so we write books and stuff, but it's not enough. It's good. It's a good record. We should do that. But also it's good to also make it somehow visible. So to do that, I work with two main platforms. One is a digital memory map, which I'm developing as part of this research. It's about, again, heritages and memories of Istanbul's Greeks. And the other one is the film. And why Greeks is it? Of course, a different question if you want me to.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I think it's also kind of related to, my knowledge about Greeks, my relationship about Greeks in Turkey. I mean, Greeks, we have two words, by the way, for Greeks. We have Yunan, which is about, Greece is Greeks. Actually, it comes from Ionian. And the other one is Rum, which comes from Roman. It refers to, Byzantine Empire. So they're actually, in Turkish, the words are also related to Greek words. So, either Rum, or Ionians, Yunan, in general, of course, it was always a question for me. So I would say I did not know much about these communities when I was, in Turkey. And this was exactly my point. As someone who grew up in Turkey, we are not taught about these communities. And I always had a curiosity of this community, and later it increased. I can start with earlier years before, I went to the university and stuff. I grew up in Izmir, so in my environment, in Turkey, generally you hear the word Greek in Turkey, or Greek music is around you, especially, Theodorakis, Ferhan Turi, George Dalaras. I used to listen to these a lot, especially Theodorakis was a big inspiration when I was a teenager. I used to, work in a bookshop, so we used to play him. So, that you have this sort of relationship with music. And then, of course, you hear the word meyhane, Greek tavern. But this is in a, I think, more romanticized sense, something sweet. Or, in Turkey, even today, you would see a cafe called Eleni's Place. This, you will see this place where there used to be Greeks. But this is also, it's not just me, but also there are people who question this romanticized version of Greeks, rooms, as we say, in relation to, Turkey's Greeks. So, for example, I never forget one of my friends, she's Turkish. So she went to this, I think she went to İmros, Gökçeada, we call in Turkish today. And they went to this cafe. It was called Eleni's Cafe. And my friend is like, I would like to talk to Eleni, please. It's sort of challenging people about this romanticized version of, using, if you don't have Eleni, please don't call, the point is we want this real, not just a sweet romanticized thing. So, in general, anyway, there is this messy and pervasive knowledge about the Greeks that goes around in Turkey, but it's always incomplete because, you have to sort of piece it together. Obviously, you don't learn about it in school or in museums. Except, of course, the wars with Greece. I used to walk in Izmir a lot, and you hear these words this was a Greek house, blah, blah. And I was thought, well, who are these people who are very close, but so far away at the same time? And then, of course, this was before I moved to Istanbul. Then, of course, in Istanbul, you have completely, new, amazing story in relation to Greeks. Especially studying art history and archaeology in Istanbul makes you think a lot about history of the city. And of course, the Byzantine past is still very visible to me, at least. And this becomes even more noticeable when you study it. And I remember walking around actual Constantinople, the historic Constantinople, all these inside the walls. at the time had a lot of impact on me. And while I was walking, I used to see many Greek Orthodox churches, Greek schools with like these big walls or doors, like massive iron big doors around them. And I was like, always thinking, again, curious about what was behind this. It's kind of an interesting feeling because you're from the same country. You are with them, but there are always barriers and you don't know where they are. So that was a bit strange. It was always a question in my mind. And one day with my friend, I went to the Patriarchate in Fener. And I think that also increased my interest and curiosity for this group, for this community, because also they were very friendly and supportive. I mean, Patriarchate is more than, I always say, more than just a religious center. It's got also amazing library and they run a lot of, cultural things. And when you go as just a, secular random woman, and I remember they helped us. Sometimes we had to do some, essays. We didn't have enough resources in Turkish and stuff, so they would actually read some Greek for us.
Ολόκληρη τη συνέντευξη θα μπορέσετε να την παρακολουθήσετε το Σάββατο 2 Ιουλίου στις 7:30 το απόγευμα στην εκπομπή με το φακό του Hellenic TV.